why you struggle getting white women as a brown guy, a South Asian guy, an Indian guy. So with all that being said, let's hop into the video. The first thing you need to realize about being a minority, let alone a brown guy, is this concept called race niche appeal. People in general tend to date more within their race. This is due to cultural compatibilities, language barriers, traditions, maybe even food, the way you dress. People tend to date more within their race. Yes, even in 2025, go outside, you walk around, the vast majority of couples are people within the same race. Yes, more and more as time goes on, as life goes on, there's going to be more and more interracial dating, 100%. However, majority of the time, regardless, most couples that you see are going to be within the same race. So, as a minority, you need to realize that factor. And if you're a minority, say an Indian guy, a brown guy in a westernized country, such as America or Europe, you need to realize that these places, as well as really most places in the world, revolve around Eurocentric beauty standards. Look at something that's perceived stylish, it's usually some type of Americanized European clothing, right? All the big fashion brands, many of them are based around Europe, are based in Europe, right? So the world revolves really around Eurocentric beauty standards. Even in India or Bangladesh or Pakistan, you look at Bollywood, right? Bollywood is a great example. Even though it's all Indian production, who do they cast in Bollywood? People with lighter skin, facial features that lean more towards Eurocentric facial features, right? You got lighter skin people in Bollywood, lighter skin actors and actresses in Bollywood, thereby reflecting the whole Eurocentric beauty standard. So with race niche appeal, you need to realize most places in the world are going to revolve around Eurocentric beauty standards, and people just in general tend to date more within their race due to the cultural compatibility. Now, what does that mean for you? Well, basically, if you're an Indian guy trying to date white women in the grand scheme of things, it's just naturally going to be a little bit harder. However, it's not going to be impossible, which is what we're going to get into later on in this video. So, reason number two, we discussed race niche appeal. Reason number two, why you may be struggling getting white women as an Indian guy is because of the fact that it's really not your fault, especially with the rise of social media, right? In the westernized countries, just the negative stereotypes constantly in the US and these westernized countries. So much television in the US, westernized countries. The Indian guy is portrayed as a geeky loser. A good example, the show The Big Bang Theory. Who's the nerdiest loser on that show that constantly gets made fun of? It's that Indian professor, Raj. They portray him so bad to the fact where the guy can't even say a simple sentence to any girl that comes across his way, let alone a white girl. So Indian guys, just in general, they're always portrayed in media and television as the geeky loser. Social media portrays Indian men with this inferiority complex. A bunch of times, the things you see in social media, say the classic Instagram reel of the white girl walking around in India and all these Indians following her around, which in general brings me to the fact that a lot of Indian men have this inferiority complex, which then plays in more to this negative stereotype of Indian men just being degenerate, being so desperate. You look at the examples of the white girl walking around in South Asia, Southeast Asia, right? The amount of attention she's getting. Indian men have that inferiority complex where they think that if somebody is lighter skinned, that tends to mean that they're better than them or more attractive than them, right? It's crazy. And Bollywood, again, is a great example of this, how they only cast lighter skinned Indian men or lighter skinned Indian women, right? So with social media, portraying Indian men in a bad way, TV shows portraying Indian men in a bad way, then the rise of other parts like IG Reels, AI nowadays constantly downgrading Indian men with all these weird AI generated reels, constantly bashing Indian men, playing in again to all the negative stereotypes. And combine that with just the actual physical negative stereotypes that Indian men are portrayed with: smell bad, bad hygiene, poor grooming, bad physique, bad outfits. Again, there's plenty of Indian men that are very rock solid on all of those, but at the same time, I'm well aware a lot of you Indian guys don't take care of your hygiene grooming practices. So you combine all of those things with social media, a lot of Indian men with these horrible hygiene grooming practices. The negative stereotype is so big on Indian men. And yeah, with many of these white women being on social media, Instagram, TikTok, they see it, then ultimately the negative stereotypes start to form. Real quick, speaking of girls, dating, women, top link in the description is my South Asian Warriors school, helping single South Asian men just like you level up your dating life. So if you're struggling, check out the school community. Link in the description. Click the first link in the description to check it out, where you'll be able to get my guidance on how you can transform your dating life and take it to the next level, bro. So, with that being said, reason number 3 why you might be struggling to get white women as an Indian guy. This one really applies to a lot of my older guys, older men, right? Really guys that have gone past that college phase. Maybe you're a guy who's a little older, in your mid 20s, late 20s, even 30s, and you're just now starting to work on your dating life. But the problem is you are leading too much with your degree and money. You have that classic mindset where you think that just because you have a solid job as a doctor, as an engineer, as a software engineer, you have making tons of money, you think that alone is going to impress the girl, impress the woman. It is not, and trust me, it's definitely not going to impress white girls. I've dated plenty of women, dated plenty of women of different races, as well as dated plenty of white women. And the connections that I've made with white women, they've never come from my degree and my high salaried paid job. I have a career outside of YouTube. I have 2 degrees, both in advanced STEM fields. And honestly, what the connections that I've made with women, let alone white women, it's never been elevated because of the amount of money I made, because of how advanced my degree was. She wasn't turned on more because I had a high paying job in project management at a healthcare firm. That was never the case. You need to realize that the connection goes far beyond these assets and achievements. You rocking even just Gucci and nice belts or a nice car combined with your advanced degree in education is not going to turn the girl on. Things that, from my experience, have turned girls on, that I've connected with, that have helped me, especially with white girls, is having the similar interests. So, similar interests, really forming that connection, and not just leading with assets and having that classic arranged marriage mindset like in the old school days. Those things, having the arranged marriage mindset, leading with your assets, leading with your advanced degree and money, that's not going to turn any white woman, just let alone any girl, on in general. There's always going to be somebody richer than you. There's always going to be somebody that makes more money than you. There's just always going to be somebody that's better off than you, farther in their career, more advanced than you. You can't solely rely on just assets and money and advanced degrees. So you have to think more of actually forming that connection, which brings me to the final part of this video. What is the solution overall on how you can attract more women, especially white women? Well, I'll say this. From my experience as a guy who's grown up in America, been entrusted into Americanized culture, dated plenty of white women, really comes down to not just the style, grooming, physique stuff, which we'll get into in a sec, but the commonalities. A lot of these Americanized white women love specific hobbies, a lot of hobbies that a lot of brown men don't really get into. For example, snowboarding. And I mentioned them down here too: snowboarding, skiing, hiking, water sports, hanging by the poolside, right? During the summers. In the summer, as a brown guy, you weren't going to the pool most likely every single week or every single day. I don't know too many brown men that are into snowboarding, skiing, water sports, right? These are all common hobbies as a guy who's grown up in America, an Americanized brown man. These hobbies are hobbies that a lot of women, especially white women, tend to love. From white girls that I've dated in the past, they've always been so into just that more adventurous archetype, spontaneous, even pretty athletic, right? Snowboarding, skiing, water sports. I'll admit, for me personally, I never really was into most of that stuff. I'll admit, I never really was into that stuff. And these are all hobbies and activities over the years that I've tried to get more into. So it's not a coincidence, not just from the looks and race niche appeal, but also the hobbies and things in common. That is a big reason why you, as an Indian guy, probably are getting that classic text from white women or just not getting interest because you're not placing yourself in these type of environments, right? These adventurous environments. Your things you're into, the interests aren't there, right? I don't know a lot of brown men that are into snowboarding, skiing, hanging by the pool, water sports. It's not just, the looks, it's not just the money, but you also have to really form that connection when it comes to forming relationships. So if you're a brown guy who's really trying to date more white girls, right? If that is your type, I urge you to think outside the box, be more open to Americanized and Western culture, and start immersing yourself more into these hobbies like snowboarding, skiing, water sports, so on and so forth. Even just getting more involved in some of these more Americanized sports, right? Like pool, darts. There's so many other examples, but getting more immersed into Americanized culture step by step is going to help you if you're a guy who's trying to attract more white women. Now, with that being said, we talked about the commonalities. The biggest thing, right? Obviously, you probably have your money in check. You have a good career, as most young brown men do, as a doctor or an engineer. That's not really the problem. Just don't bank on that. The biggest thing, again, you can do to attract more women, let alone white women, is become the best possible version of yourself from that attractive standpoint. Increase your attractiveness. Increase your sexual market value. I say this all the time in my videos. What you'll find is the more attractive you make yourself, the more you increase your sexual market value through style, grooming, fashion, fitness. Take the gym seriously. Get ripped. Get on a diet plan that's appropriate for you. Work on your style, dress better, skincare, hygiene, grooming. I say this all the time in the past in my looks maxing videos. The more attractive you make yourself, the more options you will have with women, regardless of you being brown. The more options you'll have with white women, regardless of you being brown. The more attractive you make yourself over time, the more you increase your sexual market value, the more options you will have regardless of your race, regardless of you being brown. And that includes more options with white girls. Period. Shatter the negative stereotypes. Become the most attractive version of yourself. Get more immersed into Americanized culture. Take up new hobbies like snowboarding, hiking, water sports, skiing. Become that more adventurous archetype combined with increasing your sexual market value. And I promise you, your dating life will improve. I promise you, you will have more options with women, let alone white women. So if white women are your type, you want more white girls as an Indian guy, these are the things you need to do to improve your dating life and take it to the next level. Now, regardless of whether you like white girls, you don't really care for white girls, it doesn't really matter. The overall process is still going to be the same. Getting more adapted into American culture, learning more about American culture, even doing things like accent and speech classes to reduce your accent can definitely help as well. Combine all of that with increasing your sexual market value and becoming the most attractive version of yourself. I guarantee you, you will have more success with women, let alone white women. I'm a living example of that, right? Anybody can improve their dating life, even you as an Indian guy. No excuses. I don't want to hear the BS about how short you are or your brown genetics. It's all BS. Take action, improve your dating life using everything that I just described in this video. And last thing, never be ashamed of who you are. Never be ashamed of your culture. That defines you. Never be ashamed off of it. Get off social media. Stop binge watching all the negative shit on social media. Focus on your life. Become the most attractive brown guy you possibly can, bro. With all that being said, again, if you're struggling with your dating life as a single South Asian guy, you want more options in the dating market, you want to take your dating life to the next level, check out the Skool community by clicking the first link in the description. That is my South Asian Warrior School, where you can get the help you need to improve your dating life. Like and subscribe, drop a comment below. I'll catch you in the next one, bro. Peace.